Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming to the First Friday e-call with K-State Research and Extension. This call is being recorded, as always, and you can find that. I'll put it in the chat where you can find the recording. This project has received funding and support from K-State 105, Kansas State University's Economic Growth and Advancement Initiative for all 105 counties in Kansas. And I'll put that in the chat in just one moment too. The purpose of the First Friday e-call is to increase the local community's knowledge of the experts, the education, and the economic resources available to help small businesses and the communities who love them. As always, the call is being recorded, and you will get a copy of the link when it's done. At the end of the call, something that really matters to our speakers and especially to us as a land-grant university is whether or not this call matters to you. At the end of the call are 3 short survey questions, and I'm going to teach to the pre-test. Did you learn something today that you can use immediately? And we don't do this work alone. So how many people will you forward the information to? Maybe they weren't on the call, but they can listen to the recording. And then finally, an open-ended, if you're willing to share, what did you learn that was most helpful to you? And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Deb Brown, who from SaveYour.Town. She wrote a book that I will put into the chat in a moment. And Deb's going to tell us about her experiences and what you'll read in that book.
Well, thank you. And good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I've spoken in this space before, and I always like to come back. You guys welcome me, and it's fun to be here. So I wrote a book, and it's a collection of stories, ideas, projects, and instruction on how you can do this kind of work too. And it's about small towns. It's not about cities. It's our people, small towns. And I'm excited to say that there are 7 different book clubs right now that are using this book. And I'll give you some more details at the end of that. At the end of this, let's get started though. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to talk just a bit about what this book is and who it's for. Then you're going to hear a few stories and some ideas you can use. The presentation is going to take about 15 minutes. I hope I don't lose my voice, but there will be time for questions at the end as well. And if you have some stories of your own, like we heard from Leon, please share those at the end with us too. I'm one of those people that people tell me things. And this book is a result of the stories that people share with me. So when I'm on an on-site visit, I simply ask people, what do you want? So instead of talking about all the problems and how you're going to fix them, we talk about what they want and what they can do to move forward. And I encourage you to do the same thing in your communities. Everybody knows what the problems are. Let's look at the possibilities. And you can always invite me to come and I'll show up for a visit and help you. Now, who is this book for? It's a workbook, first of all, make you write things down. And it's also a great way to bring your community together and work towards a common goal, towards that big idea. So by using the resources provided, you can help save your town and create a brighter future for everyone who lives there. Now, remember, our small towns are the heart and soul of America. And by working together, we can ensure that they continue to thrive for generations to come. And that's business owners, students, volunteers, organizations, government. This book is for everyone who wants to get things done and move into the future. Let's tell a few stories here. And I've got a few. I think you'll see yourself able to try one of these ideas in the stories. So you see the picture on the right? That's the work of a home-based photography business in southern Minnesota. The rest of the building is a coffee shop. And that coffee shop had a blank wall, and they wanted to help another local business with a bit of promotion. So they thought it'd be a great idea to have that photographer display just some of his work on their blank wall and leave up a place where people could contact him. You know what? That's a no-brainer, really. That's an easy one to do. It's great cross promotion. Folks come in for coffee and they look at the pictures while they wait. And maybe they decide they need some for themselves. They can see this person's work and reach out to them. And of course, drink coffee. On to the incubator project. So what do you do with an empty building? I bet everybody's got an empty building or two in your county at least. Well, what we chose to do, we created an incubator project. I knew a building owner that had 3 empty buildings downtown, and I approached her with the idea of the incubator project. So what it is, she would let a possible new business get free rent for the first 3 months and reduce rent for the rest of the year. And the business would pay the utilities. Every building needs love. Having people in it is great, and having the lights on matters too. That new business person would also get the opportunity to try out their ideas and see if they have a product that's going to sell, if their price points were good, if they even have a market. So that Mexican grocery store across the street from one of those empty buildings wanted to add a restaurant in the back of the grocery store, huge building, but they were saving for a new commercial hood. Those things aren't cheap. So they took advantage of the incubator space for a year that had had a restaurant in it previously. And what was so cool about it, they got to try new recipes to see if people liked them. They played around with different hours to see what the community liked best. They trained their staff, and along the way, they made some money too to help pay for that commercial hood. And they also showed other entrepreneurs in the community why an incubator space can work. Oh, they did open their restaurant, and it's absolutely wonderful. Okay, tell me, what is the most obvious thing you see in this picture? Somebody tell me what is the most obvious thing you see. Nancy?
Murals.
Murals, you said, Michael?
Yes.
Ding, 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 and you are the winner. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. It's the artwork on the second floor of the building. Now, the community manager for the city had found an art program through the University of Iowa. The students would design the art on pieces of wood, and the community could then paint it. It was actually paint by numbers, basically. And each window represents a story about the town. The artist drew the paint by number design. They took it out to the fairgrounds for a couple of weeks so anyone in town could go out and paint for 5 minutes or 5 hours. It didn't matter. And they chose bright colors because people are tired of all the historical sepia toned murals in town. Let's bring some attention to it. So the second floor of the building is not in use yet. So covering those old windows wasn't that big of a deal, and it was protected, put on wood and protected too. And I share this because a bit of color really makes a big difference in the town. And when they get their second floor where they want it to be, those murals can be moved to another location. Win-win for everybody. All right, let's talk about shared spaces. So the first business on the left is a Whatnot store in Colorado. Now, I call it a Whatnot because whatnot is in there. What it is a store with many different businesses in it. Artists, candle makers, people that sew, many more. It doesn't look like a bunch of stores though, does it? It looks like one big open space that's well laid out. This is what we call a shared space. Now, the picture on the right is a building in Elizabeth, Colorado, and you're looking at a building that houses the chamber, a place that makes mini donuts, and then another one that serves ice cream. These are not necessarily the 3 businesses I would put together, but what do I know? They were smart and experimented with it, and it's working well for them. Now, I want to tell you the story of Rose Ellis, who's in the middle picture. She used to rent a big loft space to work and show her paintings, and they're beautiful, as you can see, but it was just too much for her to afford, so she had to let it go. Remember that one wall business in a shared space? Rose is another artist who rented just one wall in the front window to display her paintings. And she also does a little work there. In an interview, she explained how important this tiny space together with others was to her. She said, "You couldn't get me out of here with a crowbar. It's the best business plan I never thought of. It has turned my life around." Excuse me. Next up, Dylan Fulton and Camden Bretling were two high school students from Miller, South Dakota. And they had heard from us the Tionesta, Pennsylvania story, which is about a town that put garden sheds up on an empty lot and created their own tiny community downtown. Well, the Miller kids liked that idea, and they took that idea along with some supportive adults, and they planned and held an event called Cozy Cabin Christmas for the month of December. So they convinced a storage shed retailer at the edge of town to host 4 temporary businesses during their community's month-long Christmas on the Prairie celebration in December. And 2 of those temporary businesses have gone on to become full-time businesses in Miller. And it's stinking cold in Miller, South Dakota in the winter. That's the lesson they learned. They moved the event to July, and now they do Christmas in July. Always a lesson to learn, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea friendly method. And this is the way that you can start thinking about getting things done. And I'll explain what it is. What you do is you take your big idea, that one thing you want for your community. You invite some friends over to talk about it, maybe on your deck or at a coffee shop. You want to reach out to people who may know some things you don't know. Finally, find the smallest step you can take towards your goal. Get started. Small but meaningful steps allow more people to participate. And that adds up to the idea of friendly method. Just a little bit more here. I'll read this to you. It's you start with your big goal for your community, and that's one that excites people and makes them feel like they can play a role in it. Now you use that goal to gather your crowd and become a movement that people can get behind. And you turn your crowd into a powerful network by building connections. And you and your newly powerful network accomplish that goal together by taking lots of small steps. This is not something you need permission to do 99% of the time. You don't have to get approval from city council. You just gather up your friends around your big idea and begin. So let's look at a few of those examples. This is one of my favorite that we do quite a bit. It's called Coffee and Calendars. Super easy. Invite some people out to coffee. And I'm thinking of service club members, ecumenical leaders, event leaders, any organization that might be related to yours. And then ask them to bring their organization's calendars. Go somewhere together and get some coffee. Please don't sit in the boardroom or the city council or the town hall. Too much weight from those buildings. Sit outside or go to a coffee shop or go to somebody's house. And then you let someone from each group go over their calendar and share a bit about their organization. And what I ask people to share is something that everyone in the room doesn't know about them. It really brings up great conversations. And that's it. You just share coffee and calendars. So if you don't put any pressure on people, they will naturally start talking about maybe cooperating or doing shared projects or noticing that they have shared goals. Entice rather than convince. So the goal is not to make a combined calendar of all the community events. Don't try to replace coffee time with an online calendar app. It's really about the conversations and connections and bringing people together across different groups. So build connections. Remember, please don't do it alone. So remember the incubator project. That building owner is a connection that you need to work with. The Miller kids had to build a connection with the garden shed guy at the end of town. So is your idea going to need expert space? Will you need help from the SBA? Maybe. That's another connection. And the idea-friendly method helps you to involve as many people as possible. Don't do it alone. And where's the fun in that anyway? Let's look at some small steps. Jackson County, Kentucky on the left cleaned up an empty lot and held a pop-up fair for local crafters. And they did it during a car show. It looks like that lady standing there with a towel around her. No, she's holding up a quilt and is folding it in half. So it gives that funny look. But she had quilts there. Who doesn't like to go look at those? Now, Harmon County in the middle decorated empty buildings with snowflakes. That's a small step. And think about how you could do that. You could have your young students partner with seniors and make snowflakes and then just go out and put them in the empty buildings or make anything that you want to put in those buildings. And on the right, look at that really close. It looks like a barber shop, right? It's not. Hollis, Oklahoma put up a banner that looks like a barber shop in one of their empty buildings. And they use the idea of what do we want in town? What do we need? So they decorated a couple of empty buildings with these banners. So these are all small steps that you could go home and start today. Now I want you to steal some ideas because that's what we all do. Borrow if you wish. On the left, Jennifer Drinkwater is one of my favorite artists. She's an Iowa artist, and she created a toolkit you can download for free. And it's called How to Yarn Bomb Your Community. It's no longer just wrapping yarn around the trees. And if you want to screenshot this, that might be helpful because the link to that free toolkit is right there. In the middle, Rock Springs, Wyoming, 23,000 people had an empty lot that they converted into a mini golf course. So, okay, it's not really a business because it is free and sponsored and maintained by everybody in town, including the downtown businesses. To play is free. Now that creates a lot of goodwill. However, they do collect the email addresses of those who play. What could your business do with those emails? So think about it. One tiny recreation space could introduce your downtown business association or chamber to new customers. Rather than expect entrepreneurs to start a permanent business, look at the picture on the right, start businesses that pop up just for a weekend at an event, maybe just for the holidays or anytime, just to try an idea. Now, this is quick market research to check which of your new ideas may work and which may not. Sue Anderson makes crocheted items, and they're wonderful. And she thought she might want to start a retail business. So she ran a pop-up in an empty building during an annual holiday event one night in her town of Webster City, Iowa. She completely sold out. But you know what? She never started her own store, because she found out that keeping the product available was way beyond the scope of what she wanted to do. Now she's still crocheting, but she has products in other stores around town. So finding out it's not going to work for you is valuable too. Think about if she'd bought that building and all the money she would have invested, only to find out, geez, I don't want to do this. All right, so let's look at some ways to use the book. Now, both the Illinois Main Street Annual Conference and the Business Builders Conference in San Juan County, Utah, purchase books for their attendees to receive. And I did the keynote at both of those events. And I talked about those 7 book clubs that I know about. They're using the book to work together and create their own projects. This book only works when you use it. And we love for you to gather your crowd. So to make the book club even more enticing, instead of paying full retail, $24.99 for each book, if you order 5 books, they're $20 per book. It's a 20% difference. So you can go to the website, tells you what to do, or send me an email. We'll work out the details if that interests you. Thank you. Here's another opportunity to screenshot, if you would. This is my business associate, Becky McCrae, and me. We are at SaveYour.Town. We do a weekly newsletter, free e-newsletter that tells these kind of stories and shares things that we think you might want to know about. And that's at SaveYour.Town/sign up. And I am sure Nancy will put that in the chat box. And if you wish to contact me for more things, feel free to do so. The picture at the top, look really close. That's in San Juan County, Utah, and I was there in December. So at their presentation, they brought in live trees. They didn't decorate them, but they put 4 or 5 live trees behind the speakers on the stage. I never would have thought to do that. I thought that was really a cool idea. And in the middle is Okolona, Mississippi. These kids, I taught these kids how to use the idea-friendly method. They did it in 7 minutes. In 7 minutes, they created their own project. Blew me away. I only had 10. They did it in 7. And what these kids came up with, high school students, is they wanted to have a place for people to get their hair done. And several people of their age knew how to do braids and locks and all those fun hairstyles. So they decided they could do it in the gymnasium, invite people to come, sign up to get their hair done, and have some of the hairdressers in town be there as well to make sure things were going the way they should be and nothing was done incorrectly. 7 minutes. And at the bottom is, we presented the idea friendly method at the IEDC conference. Nancy, all of you, have you heard they're doing a rural retreat? International Economic Development Corporation. Big, they normally only work with big towns. Well, Becky and I bugged them quite a bit. Nathan Oley, their president, is a friend. And we told them 20% of the people in America are rural. You're missing 1 in 5 people in your organization. What are you doing for rural? So in June in Montana, Great Falls, Montana, the end of June, they are hosting a rural retreat. Now, the other thing we said is, don't make it too expensive. Nobody rural is going to pay $1,000 to come to a retreat just to attend the retreat. So they heard us and they made an opportunity for rural organizations to get a 1-year membership and attend the conference for $375. It's crazy. For them, that's really crazy. So again, you have my email address. If you're interested, shoot me an email and I'll just send you the website and all the information. And that, my friends, opens it up for time to have some questions.
I think I got the right thing in the chat, Deb. The Rural Retreat 25 IEDC online.
Yes,
Oh,
that's right.
yep. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and
Okay.
tell them I sent you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Becky and I are on the advisory council. They asked us to participate to ensure that this conference really was rural because we believe in rural.
Okay. And Deb, everybody's going to have Deb's slides, but I'm going to stop the share and, oh, I'm not sure. Deb, if you know how to stop, if you can get yours shared, why?
Maybe.
I want to see people's faces if possible, and tell us your stories. Heather is joining us from South Texas, and she's still working a corporate job and dreaming of reviving the community where my family settled 100 years ago. And many of these things will be accomplished by volunteers, Heather. It's not beyond you. There, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What questions do you have, or what stories do you want to tell? about what's worked in your community or not worked. All wisdom comes from experience, and really good wisdom comes from bad experiences.
Deb and Nancy, I do have a question.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Well, this is Kirk. I am in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. I work for Habitat for Humanity, but I also live in Ogden, which is a very small community here near the K-State main campus. And to be honest, I don't remember. I met one of you in Junction City last week. I think it was Nancy.
you met me.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was like, oh, we've done all these Zooms together and we finally
Yes.
get to meet and sit at a table with coffee, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But Deb, my question, and maybe, this may resonate with Jay, the newly elected mayor, and everything else is, somewhere in the Bible it says you can't be a prophet in your own town. And I think what I've run into personally, when we try to start initiatives is we always kind of have, no offense to anyone who's a little more seasoned and aged in this room, but there's always kind of, either whether you want to say it, the boomer or the NIMBYs or whomever, there's this very vocal minority of people that are like, well, that's just not the way we do it here. Or, we don't want our town changed because we think that, we have this picture perfect.
Okay, stop. I got answers for you.
Go ahead, please.
For those that don't want their town changed, you can respond with, oh, you don't want your kids to move back here and start their own business? Is that what I'm hearing? Really explain what changing the town looks like. You're not inviting 2,000 new people to move to your community. You're just making the sidewalks a little wider. Let's be serious here, right? For the negative Nellies, most of them, you kind of have to ignore. And start speaking louder yourself. This is why you gather your friends, your own crowd. So more people, you guys are speaking more as one voice. You can also ask those, this is what I hear a lot, where I'll hear the old timers say, she said it here, Leah said it. We tried it that way once and it didn't work. So I always say, well, what didn't work about it? Tell me about that. I want to hear what your idea was. Go into it, find out what didn't work. And you will know enough, or your friends will know enough how to counteract that. Your habitat there, you want to build more houses. They're going to tell you it doesn't work, and you're going to tell them why it does. So that's one idea. For the ones that tell you, I want it to be like it was in the 50s. My response always is, okay, that's great, but what was it like? What did you like about the 50s? Let's be real specific and get into that detail. And their answers are going to be neighbors got along and talked to each other. It's going to be things like that. And you can refer them, oh, there's an organization called Neighboring and it's in Missouri, and you want to look that up because they're all about neighbors doing things together. That's a great idea. Let's make that happen. So you got to listen to people. They're coming. They think they're doing something good for you. They hope that you don't fail, so they make it so you can't. That's what the majority of them are doing. There are one or two that are just crazy or animals or something, and you can't shoot them. So not legally.
Deb,
So
I
you have
wonder
to
too,
ignore 'em.
sometimes, Deb, I wonder too, sometimes I'm not the right messenger.
Mhm.
Maybe there's somebody else that can get through with them with a different message. So don't think that you're always the answer to every question. But at the same time, I may not be perfect, but if I'm all there is, then I have to speak up.
Yeah, and this is, again, why you're gathering your crowd. Because if you have 5 people talking about this idea instead of Nancy out there on her own trying to make it happen, you're going to get more groundswell. You're going to get more people interested in it, we hope. Some ideas you won't, but the majority of them you do. And you want to work with your friends and you want to make wonderful things happen in your community. Ron put a note in that change is not mandatory. You're absolutely right. His hometown, Ashland, Southwest Kansas, had over 1,500 people 50 years ago. And the last census was 800. So where did they go, Ron?
Kansas second largest export, brain power. They went to other states.
So what can you do about that?
Start small.
Yeah, and I'll give you one idea. Get your kids involved younger. Go to the high school, talk to the shop class, see if they can make benches and have them make benches and put them out around town. They don't all have to match. They don't all have to be welded. They just have to be benches students made. And I promise you, for the rest of their life, they will own that bench. 50 years old, and they're going to say, I made that bench. That's mine. So you want to give a reason for your kids to like their town, to be involved in their community. Put one of them on as a non-voting member on city council. Do some different things. There's a whole section on youth in the book that you'll enjoy as well. Heather Day, oh, she left, didn't she? All right.
K-State Research and Extension has something we were talking earlier about first impressions, which is the adult version, and you can 3 people from one town are trained and go to another town and give their first impressions of the town, and then we do a town meeting. But we have a version that's youth community perceptions, where the youth give their own perceptions, and it's meant to do report back to the city council. And so that's available on our website.
That's awesome. There's a program, and I think it was actually started either Kansas or Oklahoma. They involve the kids to take their smartphones and go out one afternoon and take pictures of like an empty lot, and then go into Snapchat or whatever app they have and draw what they'd like to see there. And then they got back together and looked at everything. And I thought, wow, that's just easy, brilliant, gets people talking, and you get to hear what the kids actually want. When they tell you Taco Bell, and the majority of them will say Taco Bell or a restaurant, what they're actually looking for most of the time is a place to hang out with their friends. And if you dive deep enough into that conversation, they'll tell you that. So now your job is to find a place for them to hang out with their friends safely, without 20 adults breathing down their neck. A place that they can do homework, play games, listen to live music, play the live music for that matter. All right. Oh, Jay, good job. Kirky's talking to you. We have a tough dynamic, 18 to 35-year-olds wanting to grow and thrive and start business, but no path for them because the older folks, shame on them, hold all the commercial property and won't let it go. And they don't want change. All right. So first of all, there will be one old person that will let you do something. And it may be the guy that owns sheds on the empty lot at the end of town. He owns some sheds. Figure out how to bring 3 of them downtown on an empty lot, which is exactly what they did in Jewell, Iowa, and let those entrepreneurs try their idea out. Just let them try their idea out. If it works, if they're ready to grow, if they can figure out the funding part, and that's what you help with, they will find a place to start their business, hopefully in your town. If not, shame on the old people.
And
Yes, Jay.
I'll interject there. I bought the last building that came for sale in Colwich a year and a half ago. And I've done similar to some of these stories. I now house a local coffee roaster, a local rosary maker. They got a gal that draws pictures that's in there, a gal that makes baby bibs. So we're doing some of the things that you're talking about within our own coffee shop that we created out of an old restaurant. So I see that there's 5 or 6 or 7 of these 18 to 35-year-olds that really want these things, and I'm the only place that will house them. And I've talked to the other folks, and it's really just we have I mean, it's a great community, but there's just a couple of folks that own the majority of the commercial property, and they just sit. So
in Mount Air, Iowa, that same group of people had moved back home, and everybody in town a lot of people in town didn't realize they had moved back. And they move back and they get together every month along with their kids. So if the kids want to play, but they get together and talk about how to make things happen. That has made a difference for them. They have opened up several businesses, a couple in a nearby town. The more you tell these stories, the more you maybe you have to build a new building. I don't know. I want you to write that up and send me some pictures. Would you do that? I want to share your story.
Okay. Yeah, so an opportunity, several of you are commenting on Humboldt, and yes, that's almost a magical story about people who came in from the outside, really, and they projected an image or a vision that other people could roll in, and it really is just got written up in the New York Times. So Kelly Mark says the Heartland Community Foundation Youth Action Council is a really cool idea, and she gave us the link to that. Erie, Sandy, I'm so pleased by your story where a former, just the value of the community conversation, just setting aside like coffee and calendars, just setting aside the time to know each other and finding out what our problems are. A former childcare director met a woman desperate for childcare, and the two met afterwards, and they now have a childcare that helps 55 kids and their parents. And so I just put in the chat. I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I'm going to interrupt it for one moment. We have a first ever Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference in Kansas this summer. And it offers the opportunity to meet inside the buildings in your small town. Kingman, Kansas is our first host. We had 25 applicants to host the Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities event.
Hold on. Kingman, Kansas, go there and look at their bins. They have taken bins and created stores out of them.
Yep, and that's what you'll see. You'll see we're going to go into their local businesses and venues and hold our workshops. Conference participants will be able to network like we are here, except in 3 dimensions. And you'll be talking to experts and peers and resource partners who will help you overcome your local challenges and explore new opportunities. So learn more about the conference and sign up at that place that I put in the chat. And our registration is $175. And thanks to K-State 105's funding, the startup costs have been possible, and we've been able to send people to other conferences to see how it works in Nebraska and in Missouri, and it gave us a lot of good starting points to go from. So we're very, very grateful to K-State 105 for making that possible, and to the legislature for making K-State 105 possible.
And Pamela Thompson, are you still on with us? I want to know where you're at. What town?
I'm here. I live
Hi.
in Kansas, and my husband has had a successful phone repair business for probably 12 years now, but it was difficult renting, and we didn't really want to buy a building because we're older and we just didn't want to do that, So we found out that there was a business called the Corner Patio that was up for sale, and on a whim, in 3 days, we purchased that business, partnering with our daughter and her husband, and decided that my husband could make a little corner desk that when times were really busy, it could fold up and be smaller in one corner. And so he works out of that little corner and repairs phones. And people come into the restaurant and purchase pizzas and folds and all kinds of good things for lunch. And she makes smoothies. And we have bands that come on the weekends when the weather's nice. We sell pecans from one little gentleman that has, an orchard, and we offer pork rinds for sale from another business. And we have games all over the tables. It's a gathering place, and it's just the coolest thing. We absolutely love it there. It's just been wonderful, and we've had really good responses from the community. So yeah, we didn't know what we were going to do when we got there. We just knew we were going to do something. So we just started.
Let's
That's
start.
awesome.
Pamela, I missed, was it Pittsburgh? Are you in Pittsburgh or?
Yeah, we live in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
That's great.
Inspiring. I'll bet Deb would love a picture of that.
I
I
could
sure
send her
would.
one. Yep, I could send her one. Absolutely.
Please.
Well,
And write a little bit about what I'm looking at because I get lots of emails. By the
Okay.
way, if you do email me, I always answer them, hopefully within 24 hours.
Perfect.
Oh, what's
your-
the name of your business, Pam?
My husband's business is Don the Phone Guy, and then our patio is the corner patio.
Don the phone guy. Do you have
Yep.
room for somebody else to come in? Well, you got the pecan guy or pecan. I'm
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Mississippi. It's
we just
pecan.
have a little shelf where they have pecans and pork rinds for sale, but our space, we fill it up. Like when we have a bingo night, we don't have any empty seats. So we're running out of
Awesome.
space. And
So
we've only been there since August.
So
So
you're doing more than just food. You're doing live music. You're doing bingo night.
I had a
Awesome.
sewing class there a few weeks ago. I have another sewing class coming up tomorrow. So yeah, we're just doing anything that people ask about. Like, what about this? What about that? You know, so just trying to fill that need for people to be together again. That's what we keep noticing is people want to be together. And it's a really cool environment. We just rent the space and it's just working out wonderfully. Yep.
That's awesome. That's
And so
awesome.
the sewing teacher, you're not the sewing teacher, somebody else comes in, right?
No, that's me. That's my
Okay.
life is sewing and quilting.
Okay, okay.
My full-time job is a community outreach liaison for the Family Strong Grant. So I work in Southeast Kansas and help provide resources for families to prevent abuse and neglect of children. And I pop on here because I always find wonderful little nuggets of information. There's always great things here every Friday. So yeah, I just appreciate this space.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
That's a
We-
great story. Thanks for being willing to share it. Dwayne says, I am county commissioner in Ottawa County and also serve on the board of directors at Rock City. We've tried desperately to get visitors to Rock City to make the left turn into Minneapolis instead of the right turn to return to the interstate. We need marketing ideas to promote Minneapolis and the rest of Ottawa County.
And this is in Kansas, right?
Kansas, yeah.
Okay. First of all, make the locals happy. Make the locals happy. Let them be your word of mouth people. Get them involved in the marketing and the promotion. When your locals are happy, tourists show up. It's true. And then involve those people that live in Jaystown. Find your own 18 to 35-year-olds to bring them together to talk about what they're doing. And you'll be amazed at how they'll want to help you get people to make the correct turn.
Thank
And
you so
then
much.
have some fun with that too, by the way. Turn left, not right. Although in this political season, you may not want to do
Gotta
that.
use those words.
Yeah.
Right. We've tried about everything else. Local business discounts, just come explore. You know, we've got all kind of logos. It's just we feel we're at the brick wall, so we need new ideas.
What part of Kansas are you in?
North Central.
North Central. Sarah.
Just off I-70 though.
Okay.
Right off I-70 and I-135.
Sarah, what is her last name? I really should know it. Midwest Traveler. If you look
Okay.
up that and Sarah, they do bloggers tours. They send in travel writers and bloggers tour. It's really pretty affordable. Give Sarah a call. Tell her I sent you. Again, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll
Okay. What was the name again?
Midwest Traveler.
Midwest Traveler. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's a great place to start.
It matters, right?
We have a lot
Let
to
me
explore
find it.
here. History, you know, seems to be a dying interest of some people or a lot of people. We have the Pike Trail marker. We have Rock City. We have all kinds of things, you know, where Zebulon Pike camped and passed through the area, exploring it for Lewis and Clark. Abraham Lincoln's little girl wrote him a letter. She lived in Delphus, Kansas, that told him to grow a beard. It's not much, but you take a lot of little things and put them together. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot for a history buff to explore in our county.
You know, Dwayne, Pamela suggested putting up signs that tell the logos and the names of the businesses, but I like what you just said as an alternative to that. And that is to do almost a Burma shave type of thing about,
Mm,
did you know this, and tell the history, because I think there's a lot of us boomers out here that love the history. But
okay,
boy,
that's a great
Pam was,
idea.
and
And
okay.
she's right. Christina jumped in. It's Travel with Sarah, and I put her Facebook link to her personal page. But she's got some 100 things to do in the Midwest before you die books.
Mhm.
Oh, great.
Great.
Plan
Thank
some
you.
bus trips for folks. That's a great
Cheers, yeah.
idea. Partner with a retirement center or a public radio station or anything like that. Who else would care about that?
Nelda said, check with KDOT or Department of Tourism. The blue logo signs can include tourist attractions. And come
Mhm.
up with a great logo showing the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. Great ideas.
Those are great ideas. And Michael says, if you know the landowners along I-135, see if they're open to accommodating signs along the highway.
Mhm. We do have signs out there on I-70 and 35, I believe, and 18 highway. So we have made our modest effort, but we need more.
Look at
So,
the ideas popping in there. Garage
Yeah.
sales. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Kansas, we have a Highway 36 garage sale that goes all the way across multiple counties, and
Mhm.
it becomes a big deal. So the idea, and Dwayne, you already said it, you're already wanting to work regionally. But I
Mhm.
think I just want to say, yes, you're on the right track with that. It really is about regional, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we last year or last month, in the month of March only, we had 462 cars visit Rock City. We keep a traffic count now, so we probably had close to 1,000 people there. And it's an undiscovered it's a well-kept secret that we're trying to remedy.
You know, I want to acknowledge that too, because if you're keeping track of data, then all of a sudden, instead of a failure, you feel like, okay, now hold it. We need to celebrate what we are accomplishing.
Mm-hmm.
And those celebrations generate more enthusiasm than we need to do more. We need to do more.
so Dwayne, and if you and your team don't know how to track data, talk to the extension offices, talk to Nancy, and learn how to do that. That's another opportunity to bring
Okay.
your extension in to teach you how to do that. It's
Okay.
We
not as
had
hard as people think.
I don't know whether you were on the call last time, but on that time, but we had a call that was about tracking tourism, and
Mm.
because we were because we're at Manhattan, it was somebody who used interns to sit and watch the KDOT cameras and see which ones who had who had campers, who had a kayak, who had bicycles behind them, and start
Yeah.
thinking about what is the data about those recreational travelers. And
Yeah.
it's a good one. Our
Yeah.
website is being redesigned. Nothing happens quickly, but it is being redesigned, and it's difficult to find. You have to just Google on our site to find that.
Yeah.
But if you have a specific question about a certain call, I can send you when is that call and what was that I was talking about.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, oh, this looks like fun. Maybe jazz up the sign to attract or appease to a younger generation. This year's Smoke and Motor Show honors two pillars in our community that were bus drivers.
Oh, awesome.
That is awesome. And I'm taking that picture. Thank you.
Very
Can
good.
you tell me who the artist was for the picture? Jennifer. Thank you. You got my email. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
That's awesome. Because it's a great picture, isn't it?
It's a fantastic picture.
You
All
could
right.
have a contest with students making different
yeah.
signs. Oh my God. Go to
Every
town,
time
have fun.
students get involved, it's fun. And every time we give them that message that they have gifts to give, there's an important message there. So I thank you, Deb, so much for everything. And if you can come to the Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities, folks, you can see the power in sharing stories with each other. There's a lot to gain, not just from the experts that we'll have there, but also from the individuals. And we tried to drive a lot of our expertise about what's happening in Kingman. How are they using their resources, and how did they bring in others, and what made that successful? So I hope you'll check that out. Remote Work Wednesdays is a program that we have every month to, whoops, just did a wrong thing with my fingers. Next week, the Remote Work Wednesday program will be on current trends in remote work and artificial intelligence by Dr. Paul Hill from the University of Utah. You know, Deb talked about starting small and creating space, and grant writing is a wonderful way to find the money to create possibilities. You know, that's one of the things that I learned most about grant writing is you can talk about problems, but until you start talking about solutions and where's the money and what would a plan look like that we could fund, why that's what's possible. We have 4 different in-person workshops, and you can invite me to do an in-person one. We have one in Parsons, in Hill City, in Bonner Springs, and in Junction City. They're all across the state in May and June. So if you want information about that or anything else that has to do with K-State Community Vitality, send it to that email. If you have an event that you would like to promote, and if it has statewide interest, send me an email to that same place. We have 1,600 people on our constant contact list, and I'll try to promote it for you. And I mentioned earlier that I was at the Kansas Leadership Center, and many of you have access to KLC training because you have community leadership programs. But if you do not have access to KLC training, many people have used it to do, well, just lots of things. It's a good way to start a conversation, to get people with different ideas around the table, to engage people in meaningful conversations. If you don't have access to that training, we're going to try a small experiment. Just enter the Qualtrics survey that I just told you in the chat, and we'll make you our K-State Research and Extension partner and send you to training. It's very expensive training, but it's also very good. All right. And if you would like to promote First Friday or any of these other things that I told you about in your local social media, send us an email at that same KSRECV email address, and we'll send you promotional things every month to help you help others to know about this. Next call is going to be from our own K-State Rural Grocery Initiative. And every time I talk to those ladies, they are doing something else inspiring. They now have a regional food business center. If you have anybody who's thinking about starting a food business, you'll want to tell them about this call, because they have access to grants and grant training and technical expertise about how to create a good plan for a Kansas food business. These, Deb, by the way, these regional food centers exist in other places besides Kansas, and Kansas's initiative is multi-state as well. So that's not just a Kansas product. And I see that I did not put that in the chat. Let me tell you about the rural groceries. That's in the chat. So one last chance. Anybody have anything they want to report or share from Deb, to Deb or from Deb?
Kirk did. He said that if you're a Rotarian in Kansas, there are a bunch of free opportunities to take advantage of that KLC training.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we have if you're a Rotarian, like I am, anyway, the Rotary basically has numerous grants to help Rotarians take that KLC training. I've taken advantage of it. KLC training is awesome.
It is good. It's good. And they've got a good, a good first step is their book. And it is a pathway. So you start on the first step. Deb, this has just been awesome as always. Deb is one of the highest watched speakers we have every time. So if you're a regular, you want to hear the quote for the day, don't you? So Aristotle told us that happiness depends upon ourselves. So thank you for joining us. And
Nancy,
yes, Dwayne.
I do have a question about I missed the information, I guess you'll say, about the startup businesses in the food business industry. We have an individual in Minneapolis that is considering that, and I wondered if I could get a website or more information how to get the two in contact.
Yeah, and Dwayne, you can send that question to that same KSRE, K-State Research and Extension, CV, Community Vitality.
Okay.
.org. I mean, KSRECV@ksu.edu, and ask me that question, and I'll hook you up with the people that can help you.
Okay, now give me that website again, that KSRE.
KSRECV@ksu.edu.
KSU.edu. And the last initials were Charlie Bravo, CB.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No. You said Bravo.
Yeah.
Victory. Charlie Victory.
Charlie Victory, CV. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Oh, yes. And Ron is giving us good coaching on saving the chat to your own